friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tammy Ernest and I am a longarm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share customer finishes as well as my own projects that I'm working on. So today I have several customer finishes, and we're also going to open up the July Sew Sampler box from Fat Quarter Shop. So I'm glad you're here today. So July's box came this week, and let's open this one up. This one says Summer Soiree. Here's a little card on the top, really cute with the strawberries, and this is a hint of the fabric that's inside. So always on the back there's a coupon. This time it's off of June Taylor products, and also the Summer Memories book by Susan Aki. So if you got the box, you got some good coupons there. First thing is our little card here. This is just an explanation of each one of the projects that's in here. Each one of the products that's in the box this time. So, as I've told you before, there is always a pre-cut, and this month it is a Jolly Bar. This is the Berry Basket line by April Rosenthal. Really cute. Here, let me just take this off so you can see some of the fabrics. Now, a Jolly Bar is exclusive to the Fat Quarter Shop. This is a product that they create, and these are, how many is in a Jolly Bar? I want to say it's 52. I can't remember off the top of my head how many there are, but these are 5 by 10. I'm pretty sure they're 5 by 10. So a little chunkier than your 2.5 inch width, a little shorter. And then they have each Jolly Bar when you buy it. That's a cute pink one. Each Jolly Bar when you buy it comes with a pattern. I like that gray one too. So some whites. Let me get these in here so you can see, maybe from this side. All right, so we have some large florals, and those are 2 different ones. They're very similar, but those are 2 different ones. A white, tone on tone. That would be a nice one, even if you didn't pick up the whole line, to have that one like a bolt of it, like we've talked before, so that you can have some background fabric. That one's really pretty. The flowers on that, I like that one. All right, and then you have the small scale floral, and those look like 2 of the same one. Actually, those first 2 may have been 2 of the same one as well. That one's cute with the strawberries and the blueberries, 2 of those. So I bet you those first 2 were the same too, because a lot of these were having doubles. And the white with the gray. I like these grays. Those would be good background fabrics as well. And then small scale, but in the gray tone. Ooh, look at that one. I like that. And then the gray background with the strawberries and the blueberries. Here is another, this one is a gray on gray. Great background prints. These would be really nice. Ooh, look at that. I got a, interesting. It's cut short there. That's interesting. Okay, here's a pink, and then a pink check, almost a gingham type of look to that. I like that. And then the red colorway, we saw that in the gray one, and the red. Oh, sorry, I skipped one there that had the red hexagons as well. My fingers can't get a hold of it. Anyway, there's the back of it. I can't separate it. All right, and then the red, and now the strawberries are pink. That's cute. A large floral with the red background. There are 2 of those. Again, let me, because I can't see the whole fabric, I can't tell. They look very similar, so they may be the same, 2 of those. And then now we're getting into the baby blues. A little more of an aqua, not really a baby blue. 2 of those. And then a blue background with the white print. And the blue flowers, there's 2 of those. Then we have the same large scale in a light blue, 2 of those. I like that. I like that there's flowers and then the geometric shapes as well. And then here's a blue background with the blueberries and the strawberries. The large scale with the dark blue. 2 of those. So it looks like all of the large scale prints you have 2 of. I like that one too. And the dark blue background with the white dots, there's 2 of those. And then you have the blue. And then a blue with the hexagons. Those are the ones I'm having trouble getting apart. So there's 2 of these, the daisy flowers, and then the hexagon, the light blue background. And then here they've got the dark blue background, but then the blueberries are made the pale blue. And one more at the very back here. Ooh, I like that one. That's a tone on tone blue. Isn't that pretty? Do like that one. That one would be a really good print in a Quilts of Valor quilt like we showed last week. Got some texture there, but I like the blue color of that. That is really pretty. So that whole jolly bar. And then let me show you the pattern that comes. Well, first of all, there's a couple patterns in here this time. So each jolly bar comes with a pattern, and this is the pattern that, so if you order this, the jelly bar, have I been saying that the whole time? It's a jolly bar, not a jelly bar. So if you order this from the Fat Quarter Shop, you will get this pattern along with your jolly bar. And this is a 64 by 64. You will need some additional fabrics, and let me see if it tells me on here how much. So you need 3 1/8 background fabric, and that white print that was in there would be really pretty as that background. And then a 3/4 yard of binding fabric, which any of those blues would be really pretty for that. And then 4 1/4 yards for the backing fabric. So if you like this one with the stars, this would come with your jolly bar, and you'd be able to use that. Now, there's also a second pattern in the box, and this one is called Fruit Punch Quilt Pattern, and this is by Susan Aki. It uses those, that jolly bar, and then you would need some extra fabrics to finish this as well. This is 36 by 36. It has the look of like a tumbler type quilt. And to be able to do this quilt, they have included this template. This is also by Susan Aki. Now you see on here, it shows this flag quilt. And this is one of the quilts that's in Susan Aki's new book called Summer Memories. It's a quilt patterns as well as cross stitch patterns. But to do this flag quilt that is in the book, you would need this template. So, but then you've also got this template to use for this pattern. This pattern is exclusive to the Sew Sampler box. It's not listed on their website at all. And this template is on the website so that you can do the that flag quilt. So here's what the template looks like. It says it's perfect for 5-inch squares too. They're having you actually use it on here to make these. So, you know, in a normal tumbler quilt, you turn it this way, but notice in this pattern, she's putting them together this way so that it creates those stretched out hexagons, 6-sided. All right, so this template. And you would need the book in order to make this flag quilt right there. All right, so next up in the box is a MagnaFingers pickup tool. The instructions on this say that it was created by a teen whose name is Owen Cowan. You can see his picture right there. And I don't know the story behind there. Perhaps he made it for his mom. I don't know. But it picks up all your pins, and then by simply pressing the button, it drops them in the location that you need. So if you're like me and you drop pins across the floor in your sewing room, you'll be able to very easily pick them up and across the floor, and then when you push this, it releases that magnet so that you can put them over your dish or whatever. Now I did see this is the mint color. They also have this in blue and they also have it in violet, so it could get the color that matches your sewing room or your favorite color. So called MagnaFingers. So a good little tool, real easy to drop them. Then all you got to do is push that. Then the next thing in the box this time is a June Taylor kit, and this is to make this little zipper pouch. So it does not include the fabrics, although you can see they've used the fabrics from this Jolly Bar. Fabric requirements are 18 or 19 Jolly Bar rectangles, or obviously you could use ones, you could just cut that size from your stash. So a 5 by 10 is the size of a Jolly Bar. So you could use this, you could make this from your stash. So what this is, it includes the sew-on interfacing, and you sew right on the line. So no pattern to cut out, you're sewing right on the line so that your interfacing for this little pouch is all there, and it even includes a little zipper with it. Now I'm looking for this on the Fat Quarter Shop website. This exact one is not on the website yet. I don't know if it's coming soon. I assume it will be. But they do have some of this June Taylors that are insulated lunch boxes. So they're a little taller, it looks like. I didn't look at the dimensions of it. But if you're interested in something like that, the insulated lunch box is really cute too. So includes the zipper. Let me pull this out so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So here's the zipper. So it's the perfect size for the pouch. And it's a, you know, it's got the interfacing there. Pretty hefty duty zipper. Isn't that cool? Okay. So it stops right there. And then here is the interfacing. So it's got the directions. There's even a link to a DVD, not to a DVD, to a video that you can watch. A video link with instructions so that you can watch somebody making it. So it has the interfacing and you just sew right on the lines and follow the instructions. So clever idea. Clever idea. And it's a heavy, like I said, it's insulated from what I understand. This may not be insulated. It was the lunch box that was insulated. This is just your stabilizer. So if you're interested in making one of those, I'm not much of a making a bag person, so this might be a stretch for me to try it. I'll try it, but I'm really not much of a bag person. Making my own bags is what I want to say. All right, and the last thing in the box this time is the Pressed Flowers Quilt Along. This is block number 4, and this one is Lily of the Valley. So the instructions are written for the Sugarberry line, which is a Bunny Hill Designs. And I was in a quilt store last week and saw the Sugar Hill fabric line. It is beautiful. Actually, I think it's more pretty in person, prettier, that would be the right word, right? It's prettier in person than it is even here. I was very impressed with it. I really, really like it. But I've already started this one in my own pinks and browns, and so I'm not going to switch at this point. But it is a beautiful fabric line. If you haven't started into this yet and you want to, I would definitely look into the Sugarberry line. It was really pretty. So this is Lily of the Valley, and I told you that I have been using pinks and browns, and I have my block finished already. So here's my tin that has my pinks and browns in it. I have labeled each one of my fabrics. I have this PDF printed off. You can do a much better printing than I did, but I have labeled each one of these with a letter so that when, like on the back of the pattern, it says you need this SKU number, I look up that SKU number on here and see what letter it coordinates to that I've assigned it to, and then I go to my tin And then I have those marked. That pen's getting ready to come out, isn't it? And so then I have these labeled. So it's super simple. I made all the decisions ahead of time before I even started this on what fabrics I was going to use. So now it's just simply looking at the SKU number and matching that up on my PDF and pulling those fabrics out. So I did my block this morning and it really only took less than an hour, really less than an hour to do. So not bad at all. And it comes once a month, so it's 1 hour out of your month to make the block. So let me show you mine. This is Lily of the Valley. I really like the darker mauve colors with the lighter pink. I like that. Really cute. And using a lot of half square triangles, which we just discussed those last week, didn't we? How you can put those together to make a pinwheel. And look at this, you can use them here. That's what this block is, a half square triangle. This one, this one, this one, this one. Even these over here. This one and this one, all half square triangles, and how you can make shapes out of them, all these flower shapes. Now read your directions carefully if you're working on this with, because I did, one of them, it said to make, when it says to make 2, you're using only one piece of the brown and one piece of the white, and when you split that up and when you cut it down the middle after making your seams, that makes 2. So the first ones I did, I'm trying to think now. I think it was, I don't know, I ended up with some extra blocks because I cut them wrong. I think what I did, for this one and this one, it said to make 2, so I took 2 of the mauves and 2 of the whites and did those, and I ended up with 4. So then when I went to make the pink ones and the mauve ones, I didn't have enough of the mauve print, and I couldn't figure out why. It was because I was only supposed to use 1 of the mauve and 1 of the white, and then use the other 2 mauves to make these, and then you have 1 block left over that you don't use. And I did use, if you remember the last month in the Sew Sampler box, there was a 4.5 inch Creative Grids ruler. I thought I brought it with me, but I don't see it here. And I used that to trim up all my blocks. And I don't know if I've said before, but I'm newer to Creative Grids rulers. I'm kind of one of those people that when I have something that works, I don't go out and buy something else similar. And I've had my Omni rulers for quite a long time, and I just continued to use them. But I thought, okay, I need to pull out this new ruler and use it, and I trimmed it up, and what I realized is my Omni rulers are getting a little worn on the edges, and so I really liked having this new ruler. Very crisp on the points, and if you know Creative Grids, they have the sticky spots on the, not sticky, but the rough spots on the back so it doesn't move on your fabric, and I really enjoyed using them. So, and really, I've always been a little afraid of Creative Grids because it felt like there were so many lines on it, but actually using it today, I don't feel there was many more lines on it than the Omni rulers, and I think it's just what I was used to is why I was always went back to the ones I had on hand. So I did enjoy using the Creative rulers. I felt a new ruler is probably a good idea every once in a while, just because, you know, after a while, those corners on your rulers, you know, if you're hitting them with your rotary cutter or something like that, it kind of wears around away those corners, and we don't even realize it. So, Pressed Flowers block, number 4. This one, the blocks 1 through 3 are listed on Fat Quarter Shop's website, so you can buy the patterns individually. Pattern number 4 has not been listed yet, so unless you have the box, you will not be able to make this one yet. I will continue to check back, and if I notice it pop up on their website, then I'll add the link down below so that you can make this if you would like. So that's my Sew Sampler box for this month. Now, I've decided to do a little giveaway this week. So I do not plan on making this quilt right here, and I do not plan on using the template that you would need for this one. So I'm going to put these two together and give these away this week. So if you would be interested in receiving the template and the pattern, they're going to come together. So you can use the template to make the pattern, this pattern, but you can also use it for the Summer Memories book that Susan Aki has. So if you already have that book and you haven't made that that quilt yet, you'll need this template. So I'm going to give these away. If you are interested in receiving these, first of all, you need to be more than 18 years old and in the US, please. And also, I need you to put fruit punch in the description. That's all you have to do, fruit punch. That's the name of the quilt right there. And so put that in the comments below and I will draw a name, put it in the random thing and pick a name. And next week on my YouTube channel, I will announce the winner and send those out to you. Okay, so if that's something you're interested in, put fruit punch in the comments below. All right, so that is my Sew Sampler box and my pressed flowers block. And that is all I have from my projects this week. So we're going to start on some client quilts. First, we're going to start with Connie's quilt up there. And let me show you some pictures and then we'll talk about it. So Connie has a giving heart. She is always making projects for other people. And this is a table runner that she has made. And let me just show you the pattern first. So to create this, we have 2 blocks here and then a third one, almost like you're starting a log cabin type of block. So these 2 and then connected with that one, and that's all that block is. And then here we have a 5-inch square is what it looks like. So these are probably 2.5-inch squares. No, I would say they're probably 3-inch squares and finish at 2.5. So that would make a 5-inch square here and a 5-inch square here is what it looks like to me. And then it's the same block repeated over and over. And you put the 2 darker shades together and it creates that really cute. And then she's put the skinny border and then a larger border. Now, what is so intriguing about this quilt is this fabric, and I do not have the name of it. I will get with Connie and ask her. But this is everything green. So you can see the word green in there, but this is frogs and leaves and landscaping and buttons and rosettes and green crayon, green cards, green, what else do I see? Colored pencil, there's green tickets, there's a green snake, and I mean, everything green. It is so fun. Now from what Connie said when we met together, every color has a print like this. So the reds would have all red things, the orange would have all orange things, yellow all yellow things. How fun is that? So if you have a favorite color, I will try to find out this fabric line and link it in the description below. You may want to make something. So that's the back. And then you pair it with, I'm still working on the binding. That's what those little clips are. So you pair it with some other solid prints, and how cute is that? So if you can see the pantograph right there, obviously on a green quilt, I had to go with some sort of leafy flower motif. So this is called Saffron Blossom, and it's got the 3 petals, and then the little swirl out to a little leaflet there. Thought this was very appropriate. Just the perfect pantograph for a green quilt. So, and I'm also working on the binding for Connie. That's something that I do for clients if they are wanting to. And so, have you ever made a quilt like this or had somebody else's quilt and you've got to figure out how much binding to do on your own? If you don't have a pattern, you know, like most patterns, let me pull out one of these, you know, they'll tell you how many binding strips to make. Like this one, 8 2.5-inch width of fabric strips for this binding. But what if you have a quilt, a table runner, a baby quilt, something like that you've made, and you need to put the binding on it? Do you know how to figure out how much yardage you need for that? So I have put together This is my handwritten notes, but I have made this up into a PDF, and I will link it down below on how to calculate yardage for a binding. So what you're going to do, let me just run through this real quick, and then you can print these off, and so you can just fill in your own measurements whenever you may need to create some binding. So I always use, well, let me back up. First of all, to figure out how much fabric you need to make binding strips, first you need to measure your length and your width of your quilt, okay? And you're going to multiply the length times 2 and the width times 2. I did that backwards. The length times 2 and the width times 2, because you have 2 sides of each, and you're going to add that number together, okay? And so that is the total number of inches of fabric you need to go around the quilt. But we also need to add more, because where we join those strips at the very end, we're going to need to have some extra there. And I would say need probably 20 inches extra. I would add that on. And then the other thing is you've got your corners, and that's going to take a little bit of fabric. Okay, you've got your corners, and the other part that's going to use up fabric is where you bind them, where you join them together. You're going to lose some fabric in those seams. So I would take your measurements, your length times your width, you need 2 of those, add that together, and then add another, I would do another 25, 30 inches on top of that, just because I want to make sure I have enough to fold those, to meet those bindings and have extra to cut off. And let me show you, it's not a hard and fast rule how much, and I'll show you in a minute how I kind of adjust for that. So add another 20, 30 inches, and that will give you a total number that you need. So this was a quilt I was working on yesterday. So my total number is 214 inches that of linear inches that I need for this quilt. So then what I'm going to do is I need to measure the width of the fabric that I'm going to use. So if you're using fabric that's straight off of a bolt, most of that is going to be 44 inches long, or it's going to be 40 inches or 44, something like that. So you need to know that measurement. Now I usually, even if it's a 44-inch wide fabric, I will usually only use the number 40, because I know I'm going to lose some of those. I'm going to lose the selvages. I'm going to be joining those fabrics together, so I'm going to lose part of that. So I will usually divide by 40. And what I mean, so you take the width of your fabric, you had your number first of how many linear inches you needed. You're going to divide that by the width of the fabric you're using. So if that is a 44-inch wide fabric, you're going to divide that by 44, or at least by 40, something close to that. That's going to give you a number of strips that you need, okay? That tells you, so on this quilt here, when I divided the 214, I actually did divide it by 44, and I came up with the number 4.86. I need 4.86 strips of binding. I'm never going to cut 4.86 strips of binding. I will always round that up and round it up to 5, okay? Now, a lot of times I will go ahead and cut 6, and the reason is because when I cut my binding, I'm usually, especially if I'm using yardage, I have that fabric folded, so I have 4 layers of fabric, if that makes sense. So I have, a piece of yardage like this, I will fold that in half, so I have a folded edge here and the raw edge is over here, and I'm cutting 2 binding strips at a time. So I usually just do an even number. So if this one says I need 5 binding strips, I will actually go ahead and cut 5. I will actually go ahead and cut 6, because that's my even number. If I'm running short on fabric, then I may only cut the 5, but anyway, so then to figure out how much yardage you need, so if my number is 4.86, let's just round that up to 5. I need 5 binding strips. If I am making my binding 2.5 inches wide, then I multiply the 5 by the 2.5, and I know I need 12.5 inches of that 44-inch wide fabric. So this is a formula you can use no matter the size of your quilt, no matter what width of fabric you're using. So let's say you're using scraps, or you're using a backing material, and so you've got 80 inches or something. You can divide your total number by 80, or whatever the width of your fabric is. Maybe you only have 20 inches. You've got a piece, but it's only 20 inches wide. Then you divide this by 20, and that will tell you how many strips you need. Then I would round that up and the number of strips multiplied by however wide you want your strips. Okay, so maybe you're only doing a 2-inch binding. So if you needed 5 strips, but you're only doing a 2-inch binding, then you only need 10 inches of width of fabric. Does that make sense? So this is a formula you can use no matter the width of your binding strips that you want, no matter the size of your quilt, and no matter what size of fabric you are cutting for those binding strips. So I'll make this into a PDF and I will put that in the description down below. So that's a handy little guide that you can use to figure out how much binding you need when you're working on a quilt. So I'm going to finish up this binding for Connie, and you can see my little binding clips. That's how I hold it down. I only have, let me see, I only have this much more to go. To me, I do a lot of my binding in the car when we're riding, not when I'm driving, but when someone else is driving, I like to take hand projects in the car, so I do a lot of binding in the car. All right, let's move on to Kathy's quilt, and Kathy's is right here. This is a really cute quilt, and I'll let you see some larger pictures. So Kathy sent me this quilt, and this is a very special and emotional quilt. So when Kathy sent me the email, she told me that her daughter had just died suddenly, and that she was working on this quilt, that Kathy was working on this quilt at the time, and she was not real happy with the quilt, but it was one that her daughter really thought was really cute. And so even though Kathy was like, it's okay, her daughter really enjoyed the quilt. So Kathy's intention was to finish the quilt and give it to her daughter. Well, while Kathy was gone on a trip, her daughter died suddenly, and it was a real shock to the family. And Kathy is now raising her grandson after her daughter died. And Kathy decided she wanted to go ahead and finish this quilt in honor of her daughter. And on Mother's Day, when she had family over, they each signed on these, this is meant to look like the old Polaroid pictures that you would print out of a Polaroid camera. And so on Mother's Day, they have now turned this into a memory quilt, really. They have each written different memories or things that they would like to tell the daughter, and it's a really special quilt. One, because the daughter liked it, but just the emotion that's when you read these comments, just the emotion and the rawness and the grieving that's going on, you can just feel it. And so it's a really a neat tribute, but I know it's really been a tough time for their family, and so I appreciate the just the confidence that Kathy had in sending this to me and letting me do the long arming for her. So she asked that I use this Soho pattern for the pantograph. She had seen that on a video and asked and thought that would be really cute, and I think it's a nice addition to all of the squares and rectangles. It adds that softness in there. And she has a nice blue background print here. On the back we used more of an aqua blue type. Let me try to get this in just perfect. Kind of a minty green fabric on the back. And Kathy also did send along a label that she asked me to put on the back. We actually attached the label prior to the quilting, and so that it's, I just did a buttonhole stitch all the way around, not a buttonhole, a blanket stitch around that, and then quilted right over the top of it. And a really special tribute to her daughter. And this pattern, let me tell you about that. This pattern is called Selfie, and it is available on the Fat Quarter Shop. but it is one of the patterns, very similar to what I just showed you from the Sew Sampler box, that when you buy the Jolly Bar of the Simply Delightful line of fabric by Chelsea and her mom, Sherri, when you buy this fabric line, then the pattern for the selfie quilt comes along with that Jolly Bar. There is another option that they actually sell a whole quilt kit, and so it comes with the Jolly Bar of the Simply Delightful fabric. It comes with the pattern. Then it also comes with all of the material you need to finish the top, and it comes with fabric for the binding. You would only need to add backing fabric, and they have a suggested one listed there. So two ways to get this pattern. You can't get it by itself. You have to buy it. It comes along with the Jolly Bar. And so you can either buy the Jolly Bar with the pattern, or you can buy the quilt kit. And so that's what these fabrics are. It's from the Simply Delightful. Yeah, and I think the backing fabric that the Fat Quarter Shop suggests is this fun, almost reminds me of bubblegum type balls, but a really special quilt. And been praying over that quilt the whole time I've had it on the Longarm. So praying for that family. All right, let's move on to a quilt that's not hanging up here. This is from Kelly, and it already had to go back home because she needed it to get finished, I believe, to give away as a gift. So let me insert some pictures. This is a super adorable quilt, and I hope you enjoy the pictures here. That is such a cute quilt. So could you figure it out? So each letter has a vehicle beside it that goes along with, that starts with that letter of the alphabet. So you have the ambulance or the school bus. Some of them, it took me a little bit of time to figure out what they were. The wrecking ball for the W. What else was there? I think the Z, from what I'm told, I don't know this, and I may get this wrong, so please don't laugh at me, but there is a car brand called a ZTR or something like that, and that's what the Z is. The yacht for the Y. I just thought this was the cutest quilt. I just really, really loved it. Now, this is a pattern you can find on Etsy, and it's called Vehicles. What was the name of it? Letter Vehicle. Now, this is from a company, pattern company called Quilts and Nice Stuff is the name of the company. They are on Etsy, and they are a German company. So to me, this pattern is pretty expensive, but it's a very large quilt. Let me see. 70 by 82 is what this one finished at. Now you can also buy the letters individually or the vehicles individually in those smaller patterns like that, and they were $350, something like that. And I'm assuming that was US dollars because I really didn't look at that. I was just looking at the numbers. But the pattern itself, to get everything together, was 80 some dollars. But you're getting a ton of patterns there, and you could do a name with the vehicle. I don't know. There are so many possibilities you could do with this, and there's even punctuation. So if you were doing sky's the limit. I mean, you could do so many things with this one. It's just super cute. I believe it looked like Kelly's fabrics were mostly solids. If you notice, if I did some close-up pictures, I'll put them in here. The rocks in the dump truck were like a brown batik, which was so cute because it gave it that. And so there's a few specialty fabrics here and there, but a lot of solids were used in this one, and just absolutely adorable. So anytime I get a quilt that has a construction theme or road theme or vehicle theme, I love, love, love to use this Gridlock pantograph. This is done by Jess Ziegler of the Longarm League. I love the texture of this pantograph. I love the circles, how it does, makes me think of a stoplight or something like that. And then you have the diagonal lines, just makes me think of roads and construction. And I just think it is the perfect pantograph for any quilt like this. And especially because most of your vehicle quilts like that are gonna be juvenile quilts. And so I just think this design lends itself really, really well to that. And I just love it. Love this pattern. Kelly said it was a challenge, the wheels especially, because every one of those vehicles had wheels on it, and those were a bit of a challenge. And there are some tiny pieces. It's some small things, and so, but the end product is absolutely beautiful, and just really, really enjoyed that. And so, I think this was for a grandson, and so I think Kelly is just going to be, she's going to be the hit grandma at that birthday party when he gets this quilt, because it is absolutely adorable, absolutely adorable. Really nice job. All right, let's move on to this pattern down here at the bottom, this quilt down here at the bottom using Tilda fabrics. So here's some bigger pictures. Rebecca sent me this quilt, and Rebecca has her own YouTube channel. It is called Willow Hill Designs. Willow Hill Designs, and she actually on her YouTube channel tells how she made this. This is a pattern that she created on her own, and she shows you how to put it together and really detailed instructions. So if you're interested in the quilt itself, the pattern, you'll need to go to her or not her website, but her YouTube channel to see that. It's really, really cute. So she said that she used her Tilda stash to make this quilt, and I love these fabrics. These are so soft and just the richness that's there. And there's even one print that has, look at this print. It has names of flowers on it. Is that one? Pansy and zinnia, hollyhock, daisy, just really cute. And then all the flower prints. I just really love them. The detail in them. Wow, I really like that. I do have some of my own stash of Tilda fabrics. I have a couple, let me see, are these fat quarter bundles? I do. And these have been sitting on my shelf, but this is some of the Tilda fabrics that I have. This is the line called Windy Days. This was actually done in 2021, but these are still available on the Fat Quarter Shop. How pretty is that? And then I just really like these prints. I tell you, every quilt I get in just makes me think, oh, I want to make one of those. Or use my fabric that has that. And here's like a rainy day, wind blowing, scarf blowing. Really cute. And then here's another, these two go together, but they are different ones. And here's, this top one is more pinks and the browns, and then this one's the more blues. But it's so cute. And there's that same windy day with the brown. But Tilda fabrics are so original to me. I mean, when you see them, you know that they're that designer, and they're just so cute. So this quilt, I love the yellows put in here too. So my packet doesn't have any yellows, but see how the yellows pop out here? I think it adds some interest in here. You know, really nice. And then look at the border. So Rebecca did this border here, and then she did a piano keys. I mean, some of them are a little wider, but the same idea as piano keys all around. Do you know how difficult that is? because a lot of times quilts, when you're doing a piano key border like this, they get all out of whack. Our measurements are off, or we're stretching fabric, and you know, this one is very nicely done all the way around, all the way around. And then she did in the corners, she did these blue cornerstones in the corner to make the corner. Probably a little easier when you're doing some different sizes of fabrics, adds a lot of interest by mixing up the widths there, and maybe a tad bit easier to get everything to line up, because if it doesn't, you can get to the end and make this one a little shorter if you need to get that, that to fit right on the corner there. Then she had a pieced backing. Let me show you down the middle. She did a whole patchwork in the middle. Really nice. And then this print on the rest of it. The geese in that pink and blues. Oh, I just love the vibe that it gives off. Okay, so for the pantograph, we went with one that's called Trellis, and it's going to be difficult to see on this fabrics, but I will show you the printed out version of it in just a second. We used a light pink thread. There, you can see that. You can see the swirls of it. Let me show you what Trellis looks like. Trellis is a design by Patricia Ritter. You can find this on Urban Elements, and here's what it looks like. Now, obviously, we did this much bigger on the quilt, but that's what the overall effect looks like. So you have the swirls in there, the tight swirls with just a little leaflet. Again, this is one of those designs, if you're doing hand-guided work, you could very easily do this one. Now, it's not going to be symmetrical like this. You know what I mean is the straight lines and the same. It doesn't have to be. When you're doing hand-guided work, you work yourself around the quilt and you put little swirls where you need to get in closer to something. But you could very easily do this one. And I would, even when you're doing the handwork, like if you're coming up right here, don't stop and go this way. Continue right around. Do you see what I mean by that? So if I'm coming up to do this swirl, don't stop here and then come backwards. Instead, come up like this and then continue on in that motion and go up this way and come back to make the rest of the leaf. And then swirl in. Notice these swirls are really tight. Some of our other pantographs that we use, if you loop out more, then it gives a more playful feel. But we keep it tight like this. It's much more of an elegant, classy feel for those spirals. So you come in and do a swirl, you come back out, and then you jump over here and do another little swirl. And again, if we were doing this, depending on when you're adding that leaflet, if you're doing it on the way into the swirl, then continue on past, go up, and come back to finish the leaf, and then go on around the swirl. So do you see what I'm saying? Because then you're following your motion. If you do it on the way out, no, I lost where I was, oh, right here. If I come in and do the swirl first and then go do the leaflet on my way out, then you're coming out here and then you're gonna come down first and then go up, make your little leaflet, and then come back around. So just continue on with that motion, whichever direction you're going. All right, you could very easily do this one hand-guided. Really cute. I did not though, I did it with machine. So there you can see a little bit of the texture in there. This is such a lovely quilt. Very soft, just reminds me of, by soft I mean just the aura it gives off, I guess. You know, just very soft and just feels like a spring afternoon and English garden type of look. Very nice, Rebecca. So if you would like to make one of these, go and follow Rebecca's YouTube channel, Willow Hill Designs, and see what she's working on today. She had some really cute stuff on there. All right, I have one more to share, and it's this big one right here. Let me show you some larger pictures. I did the best I could in getting a larger view of it. It's a very large quilt. It's 102 by 102. So I did have to fold the backing over a couple times so that you could get the full feel of the quilt, but here are some larger pictures. A beautiful quilt. This is done by Sheryl, and again, it's very large, 102 by 102. And this is a pattern by Lo Behold Stitchery. The pattern itself is called Deco. So when you look this up on Lo Behold Stitchery, the colorway is totally different. So I really like that Sheryl has done this in her own colorway, really softened the look of the quilt. On the website, when you look at it, it's very bold. And this one, I love the color choices that she made. So Sheryl says that this fabric line is called Crackle, and it is a Northcott fabric. I could not find a link to it, so you might need to ask or look on Etsy, or you might need to ask your local quilt store if they have it. And but really, really cute. The white, all of it is Crackle. So it's this green here, the gray here, and even the white. It's not a white, it's more of a cream, but it also has that crackle look to it. And so then the only other fabrics we have, let me show you. We have this print here, and I don't know the name of that one. So it's a gray, and I was looking to see if it was pieced. It is a pieced, so this is like a 5-inch square right here, but this green on the corner, if you can see that, this is an easy corner triangle put on those two corners right there. And that matches with these littler squares there. So subtle, but instead of just a plain square, we've added a little bit onto those. You can just barely see that, the green. So that's the only other fabric in the quilt besides the backing. Here you can see the backing. This is a grunge print. And the whole backing is that same print. Really nice. A very classy quilt. All right. So the pantograph that Sheryl asked for, this is called Rind, very similar to an orange peel design. And this is by Piece and Quilt, and I'll link that pantograph for you as well on there. This is a very precise lineup. So if you're a digital pantograph stitcher, understand that there's a very precise a matchup of the lines. Can be difficult at times, and but that is very beautiful. We did it in a fairly large size, so you can see, so it stitches out here, and you know, it's as big as my hand, that orange peel or the rind design, but then you have the flowers here. You can see it a little bit better on the white than up there, but you have the flowers or the leaves, you know, around there, and then it duplicates it on the inside, a smaller one on the inside. We went with a cream color thread, and that matched the quilt top. It is a cream color thread on the back, so you do get some texture. But for this quilt with so much cream on the front, I did not want to do a gray color thread. I felt that a cream color was the best choice so that you really see the design of the quilt, and the quilting is there, but it's second nature. You see it more in the negative space than on the quilting itself. But then on the backing, you're going to see it pretty stark. I mean, it's a cream, it's not a white, but it does show up pretty well. Adds a lot of texture onto the back of the quilt as well. So all grunge fabric, like I said, on the back, and then this is the Crackle fabric line from Northcott on the front. Really, really pretty. Let me see if there's anything else to tell you about this one. Nope, that's the pattern name and the fabric line and the pantograph. So really, really nice. I hung it up here instead of me trying to hold it. It's such a monster that I hung it up here. Let me know if you like that. Hanging quilts on a frame behind me that's a little easier to see, so that I can point out some things a little easier. let me know with the sound if that works too, because I'm trying to face the camera but to point in the right direction, so let me know how that works. All right, so those are my finishes for this week. If you would like that pattern, and let me find it again. If you are interested in joining, yeah, if you are interested in entering the giveaway for this template and for this fruit punch pattern, then put fruit punch in the comments below, and I will do a random picker next week right before I start my video, and to see who won those things. So until next week, I hope you have lots of time to quilt, or you're making lots of time to quilt, and we'll see you next week, because every quilt is worth finishing.